Welcome to our presentation. Hans, thank you again for starting with us this fruitful partnership. So we are very glad to receive you here. So please, if you want to start, you are available to start now. We are recording our presentation.
All right, thank you very much for the invitation, and it's a pleasure to be here. And it's also very nice to be able to present KTH since our bilateral agreement is rather new. So it's a good opportunity for me to present KTH, but also briefly Sweden and Stockholm, which might also be of interest for students coming to us. So I'll share. Can you see the presentation?
Yes, it's perfect.
All right. Yeah, so KTH is located in Sweden, which is located in the north of Europe, and it's a rather small country. About 10 million inhabitants, and we have rather close connection with Brazil in several ways. First of all, a lot of Swedish companies are based in Brazil. For instance, Scania and Volvo, Electrolux, Ericsson, ABB, Stora Enso. And also I know that Spotify has established their platform in Brazil. And there are over 200 companies, Swedish companies based in Brazil. And the first company, Ericsson, started there almost 200 years ago. And also, I know a lot of Brazilians are very have a close connection to Sweden and Stockholm due to the World Cup in 1958, where Brazil won its first World Cup in football against Sweden in the final. That's usually a theme of conversation when you go to Brazil as a Swede. So anyhow, Sweden is famous for being a rather multicultural society. We have a quite large welfare system. So in comparison to many other countries, we have a rather small inequality. I mean, the differences between rich and poor is rather low in comparison. Yeah, KTH is located in the capital, Stockholm. And Stockholm is a rather small city in comparison to many Brazilian cities. It's about 1.5 million inhabitants in the greater region of Stockholm. It's a rather innovative and engineering focused city. Sweden in general is rather famous for being an innovative country. It's usually ranked among the top 1, 2, 3 countries in the world when it comes to innovations. And as I mentioned before, there's a large history of engineering companies, and many of these origin from Stockholm, and we have close collaboration with these companies. As a student living in Stockholm, you could expect to have a rather nice atmosphere in terms of living in a livable city. Not so much traffic, good public transportation, clean air, and also access to nature. I would say 1/3 of Stockholm is urban area in terms of buildings, and 1/3 would be water, and 1/3 forest. So no matter where you are in Stockholm, you always have the nature in terms of water or parks or forests around the corner. Yeah, so who are we? We're the oldest and biggest technical university in Sweden, and also actually in Scandinavia. So we are focusing on engineering and technology, as the name might suggest. We have around 14,000 students, and we ranked among the best technical universities in the world. I saw actually yesterday the new ranking list in engineering universities. I think we were ranked 28 in the world. So it's a rather qualitative university. As you can see in this photo, we are located in the city center of Stockholm, and the main campus, as you can see in this picture, is more than 100 years old. We also have other campuses, as you can see in the left-hand corner, Flemingsberg and Södertälje. And on top of the picture, we have another campus, which is called KTH Kista. And Kista is actually somewhat of a Silicon Valley of Scandinavia. That's where Ericsson has its main headquarters, and also other IT companies such as Microsoft or IBM. They also have their offices and R&D centers. So that's why we have our School of Information Communication Technology up there, to maintain this close relationship to the industry. The same goes for the campus we have in Södertälje. This is where Scania, the bus and lorry factory and main quarters is located. So there we have our a campus focusing on mechanical engineering, etc. We also have our own subway station, which is called the Technical Institute. So it's quite easy to get to university, even though you might not live at campus. We have a quite broad set of courses within the broad areas, as you can see here in the picture: architecture and built environment, electrical engineering and computer science, engineering sciences, but also life science, such as chemistry or biotechnology and health, and industrial engineering and management. So in total, we have more than 1,000 courses taught in English. And the reason why it says master level here is because as an exchange student, you would, even though you study your undergrad in Brazil, all international students, they study at what we would call the master's level. That's basically the 4th and 5th years for our students. And the reason for that is because we have the Bologna process, which is 3 years of a bachelor and 2 years of master's. So it might be good for you to know that as an exchange student, you would choose courses at master's level. And it comes quite natural as well, because these are the courses that are taught in English. Pretty much all courses before master level is taught in Swedish. So what can you expect as a student being at KTH? I would say that a lot of our courses are characterized by problem-based learning methods, and also quite a lot of interactive teaching methods where you would, except having normal lectures, participated in various kinds of seminars or teamwork. And a lot of the teaching is based on you taking an individual responsibility. So there might not be, at some courses, the contact hours in class might be less, but then you are expected to do teamwork or other kind of tasks, and the teacher will not constantly look after you in that sense. So it requires that you take responsibility of your studies. But this is the reason we have this method is to educate engineers to be more self-dependent or independent, and to be able to solve actual problems. Because when you get out to working life, that's what you do as an engineer. You solve problems and you work with colleagues in teams. Also we have, as I mentioned before, we have rather close connections to industry, and in various courses, problems are provided by companies in close collaboration. So there is also a bit of a personal approach to education, and then entrepreneurial spirit to it. So when you get to KTH, we have an accommodation office that can help you find accommodation, and we have accommodation around the city. Some of them, some buildings are at campus, some are in the city center, and there are a couple in the outskirts. It's difficult to say beforehand where you would stay. And I can also mention that the housing situation in Stockholm in general is rather complicated. So that's why we try to help our exchange students so that you don't have to worry too much about accommodation. And yeah, you can see the approximate prices for the monthly rent, around $500. Depends what kind of accommodation we're talking about. And speaking about budget, living costs in Sweden and Stockholm would be roughly $1,000 US. And with that amount of money, you won't live as a king or queen, but you will have a decent life as a student, at least. And this amount is also connected to the amount you need to show the Swedish Migration Board in order to obtain a student visa. So when you get there, we have introduction weeks. We even have arrival days where we pick up students at the airport. As you can see in the picture, we have this bus. However, you don't need to arrive this day. It's more if you want that kind of extra support, it's good to know that we have a particular arrival day when everything is rather streamlined and prepared, and it's more like you go to a queue and everything is very prepared. You can come at other dates as well. And other extra services provided additional to the courses, of course, is that we have counseling for exchange students, but also like social activities, and those are mostly arranged by the student union. So, but if you're admitted to KTH as an exchange student, you would of course get more detailed information about all this. Yeah, and to get admitted, you would of course need to apply, and in order to apply, you must be selected by, in this case, Pookie, and go through their internal process to get nominated. And when you are officially nominated, the application deadlines are the 15th of April for the autumn semester, and the 15th of October for the spring semester. So as some of you might know, we have the European semester structure, which is the opposite of yours, where our first semester will be starting in September, and the second semester starts in January, and then we have the summer break between the academic year, between June and August. And that's also when we have our longer holidays in general. So in July, for instance, pretty much everyone in Sweden has holidays, and it's rather difficult to get. It would be like your carnival weeks, I think. And you can't get a hold on anyone, and then if you try to do something related to work and you arrive in July, you're doomed to fail. Yeah, I was actually intending to show just a brief video before we can, and then I can answer some questions.
Hi, and welcome to Sweden's largest, oldest, and highest ranked technical university.
I am Akshat.
And I'm Diana.
And this is KTH Royal Institute of Technology.
KTH is a diverse and equal university. Students and teachers are on a first-name basis, and personal development is as important as academic achievement.
We offer 60 master's degree programs in areas such as architecture, computer science, industrial management, and chemical engineering.
Our programs provide you with advanced problem-solving skills and give you the tools to move society in a more sustainable direction.
And KTH's outstanding services support you in turning your ideas into innovation and your passions into exciting career opportunities.
At KTH, we learn and excel together. Individual studies are coupled with group assignments, tackling real industry challenges, providing you essential teamwork skills, and inspiring you to explore new perspectives.
This unique skill set is one of the reasons why 50% of KTH students get their first job offer even before graduating.
Our 5 campuses sit in and around Stockholm, the open and progressive capital city of Sweden.
It's an excellent setting for making friends for life, exploring your interests, and pursuing your dreams.
A place to transform yourself and the world we live in.
Check out our master's programs at kth.se/master.
And we hope you'll join us at KTH this autumn.
Yeah. So actually, Diana is from Rio, by the way, just a coincidence in this case.
Wow, it's really amazing campus.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, it's a very beautiful campus.
Yes. So I'm not sure if the students have any question, but I think Pedro is our student who is at this moment at your university. Is you, Pedro?
Yes.
Ah,
Hello.
please share your experience with us.
No, at this point, I don't think I'll do any more justice than what Hans already told. I think I can just vouch for everything he said. Stockholm is a very good place to be in. It's very relaxed, and I like to describe it when I talk to my friends and family. I always say like it's a big, small city, because it has everything a big city you would expect from a big city. So it has like very good public transportation, all of that, but also it's small in the sense that the population density is not that high. So you can just, I don't know, if you take a metro in rush hour, it'll be chill, especially for us who's used to
Yeah.
Rio's metro. It's very chill. And it's also because of the whole thing with nature and all of that. It's very relaxing environment, a perfect place to study and to develop in. And when it comes to KTH, the campus is amazing. And it's different from PUC because I feel like PUC has a very vertical campus because of the limited amount of geographical space we have in Gavia. And here in KTH is the opposite. You have like a huge, very horizontal campus. It almost feel like a neighborhood when you are at main campus. So it's very interesting in that sense as well. And yeah, I feel like everyone, when they go to their respective places, like if someone goes to France, for instance, they'll say France is the best. But I feel like Stockholm and KTH specifically, is probably the best agreement you could choose as a book student. And I'm very conscious that this is a very biased statement, but this is the feeling I have. I have the feeling that everyone that does not choose KTH is just missing out on something.
So
It almost sounds like you're on our payroll.
so that's
Pedro.
why I talked to you, Hans, to invite Pedro to talk about PUC with your students who wants to come to us.
Yes, Pedro, there is a student that is coming to attend the intensive course and the regular semester here. His name is David, and from KTH. And you can help him to adapt and know more about PUC and show how is Carioca is, how the welcome way of Carioca is. So try to help him. He's sent a message for me asking for Rio. So maybe you are the best person to do this job as you are here. You are there, yes. So please help me.
Yes, I actually came in contact with him because a friend of mine is friends with him. And she was like, oh, I have this friend, he's going to Rio. Could he talk to you?
Oh, wonderful. If you'd like, I can send you our link for the video, the virtual video from our campus is good for you to show him. Just to have an idea before arriving. It's a very different campus. You know, Hans, yes, our campus is very cozy and warm, but it's very different. Your campus look like a castle. Yes, KTH look like a castle in the city around the castle. It's very nice. It's very different. And I would like to visit someday, Hans.
So on the other hand, we have Julia. Julia is going to your university next semester. Do you have any questions, Julia? Please feel free to contact now.
Hi, I think I already gave a lot of questions to Pedro a couple of months ago.
That's good.
And just for you to know, I sent him over like 15 questions and he created a Google Docs.
Pedro, you're a smart guy.
Yes, and he described all of them with great detail. And I don't think there's much left. I do have sort of a broad question for Hans. What makes students usually struggle when adapting to KTH student life, like in general? I know you have students from all over the world, and some of them must struggle most with the weather or something like that. But regarding student life, what's usually most difficult?
Yeah, I mean, I suppose in one sense, Pedro would know better than I, but I mean, I worked for 10 years at KTH, and I have a broad experience from various cultures as well. So I can start from my perspective. And first of all, I would say that it depends a bit of the cultural context you come from. In the Brazilian case, it might be the soldade, but and some students, of course, they struggle a bit in winter, and mostly it's not. it's not really the coldness, it's rather the darkness students are struggling with that. Yeah, as you might know, in the summer it's very light, and in the winter it becomes quite dark. On the other hand, if we have a good winter with snow and everything, it's so a lot of students also feel it's quite exotic and a good opportunity to explore winter and what it has to offer in terms of skating, skiing, and just
Yes.
nice landscape and being an integral part of your experience as an exchange student. So I suppose that's most dependent on how you are as a person. It could be a positive thing or a negative thing, depending. The other thing, and maybe this is more Asia. I think Asian students might struggle a bit more than Latin American students with this, and that is what I mentioned a bit in the presentation when it comes to the way of teaching. If students are used to only be taught in lectures, it might be a bit challenging to suddenly be exposed to situations where you're supposed to take initiatives and you're supposed to work in groups and you're supposed to take you need to plan your own progress in one sense. That's another thing. Maybe Pedro, maybe you could elaborate a little bit on this from your experience.
Yeah, I feel like this was probably the most impactful for me, because the code, the first few days, it's a bit weird, but then when you have enough layers on, you're fine. The darkness is awkward for the first few days as well, but then you just acknowledge that days don't need to have sunlight. You look out of the window and you're like, oh, it's dark, I'm not gonna do that today normally, but here you can't just give yourself this this benefit. You have to be like, oh, I'm gonna do it regardless, and just be used to the dark. So those are two things I think get used pretty fast, but the modules themselves are very different, I feel like, because back in PUC I do, I don't know, around 7 to 8 modules a semester. So there's lots of classes during the week. I have lots of hours inside the classroom, whereas here I'm doing, for instance, now I'm doing 2 modules and the Swedish course, and one module I don't even have classes anymore because those were last period. So technically I'm doing 1.5 module. I have 4 hours of class a week, and the rest is just working on individual assignments, group assignments. So I feel like that's different from what we're used to back home.
Yes, and that's my experience as well, that if you come from a structure where you know that if I attend class hours, usually also when in systems where all the exams are in the end of the semester, then you know that if I attend class hours, I've done my part. If you have that mentality at KTH, you will not succeed, because as Pedro mentioned, if you have 4 hours of class in a week and you just engage in your studies 4 hours a week, there are a lot of things that are expected from you that you will not be able to present. But I think for pretty much all students, it's just a matter of understanding this structure. And I mean, one positive thing I think is that, as Pedro mentioned, you study 1 or 2 courses at a time. So the semester is divided into 2 periods. And that means that I would say the study pace might be a bit more even than in perhaps, I don't know the PUC in detail, but I think most Brazilian universities, they have all exams in the end of the semester, right? So then in the beginning of the semester, it's rather relaxed. And then in the end, you just need to, you don't have to think of anything else than just studying. But in the KTH structure, it would be more that you always have an exam coming up, kind of, or an assignment to hand in. So you always kind of need to produce something. But on the other hand, you will never end up in a situation where you just need to be 20 hours a day studying. Or what do you say, Pedro? Is that the correct kind of comparison?
Yes, that's very accurate. In the first week I got kind of scared, because in the first day of classes, the professor was like, "Oh yeah, we have an exam next week," and I was, "Oh my God, where am I? What have I put myself into?" But then you get used to it and it's fine.
Pedro, Pedro Hans, I have a question for you. Here we have we have a bud system that called the Brother Carioca, that introduces students for the cultural life and manage with this kind of sometime to struggle problems in the city with the weather, because in opposite of you, that you have the darkness, we have the sun days every day. And for a student that come with a cold country, yes, like they just come from the snow weather, and they arrive here in the summer with almost 50 degrees. And we have to advise in a little by little to take care about the skin, to put some block. You have to, I like to I always act like a mama. Do not forget the sunblock, please. If you are going to the beach, pay attention to this or to not, what to do or not to do. And the Brother Carioca helped me so much in this. And I would like to know if you have this kind of buddy system that could help students, as Julia asked, to struggle the darkness that you have in the country. Yes, I know that Sweden, they have, like us, we have different activities from summer and winter. So maybe they can give advice what to do when disappear, the darkness is becoming, and it's beginning, and what they have to do. I think the question of Julia was asking for is about how to struggle, and if there is some advice to what to do. Of course, if you are working in a part-time job, it's help, because you have you spend time inside. But if you have a lot of time to spend, what to do? I'm curious about that.
Yeah, well, we don't have like study buddy program, as I suppose you have, that is organized by our office. The student union, they have various social activities, and they also have kind of structures where you can have study kind of buddies. I haven't, since we are not working directly with this, I don't know in detail how it works. Have you been in contact with them, Pedro, the student union?
Yes. So they have a similar system to Brother Carioca, in the sense that they have a group of students from here. They organize events and all of that to get you acquainted with like Stockholm culture, and also to get you acquainted with the other international students arriving with you. So we had 2 to 3 weeks of events, like varying from hiking to pub nights, cooking, board games, all of that.
Yes.
So events for all tastes. And then you could just register for them, and they would like organize everything and make sure people got to meet new people and all of that. So it was kind of, I think it's exactly what we have with Brother Carioca. I don't know myself Brother Carioca in detail, but I think that's what we have back there. But I do like to know it when I'm back, because it's a very good thing to have.
And I can also, related to that theme and to the question of Julia, I think from my experience, one of the biggest disappointments of students, international students I meet, would be that it's quite difficult to get to know Swedish students. A lot of the, it's very easy to get to know other international students, and we have plenty of international students at KTH, because we don't, it's not only exchange students, but also we have very many degree seeking students as well. So, I mean, we are a very international university. So I don't have exact numbers, but I think in total, maybe 30% of all students are international. Additionally, also with a big research, international research community. So what happens is that it's kind of the Swedish students, they live their life, and then you have the international students that kind of arranges this. They're more open to meet and do things, and the Swedish culture is a bit more closed than the Brazilian. It is much easier to get to know a Brazilian than it is to get to know a Swede, unfortunately. So I mean, I'm not saying that it's impossible to get to know Swedish students, and there are many examples that would say the contrary, but I think in general terms, I would say that's the biggest kind of disappointment I encounter when I talk to our international students.
Okay, thank you for your answer. I also have one more. Do you have more time?
Yes, for us, not a problem. For you, Hans, do you have to end, or can you?
I'm until 5. Sorry, 5.
Until
my
5, no. You have another
Well.
meeting.
My
Okay,
5.
No, you don't
20
need. You
minutes.
don't need to eat. You don't need to have lunch. Yes, you can continue, Nancy. Yes.
Yeah, I have 20 minutes.
But before Julia ask her question, let me tell you something about our international office as well. We have a buddy system, Brother Carioca, but our international office also do some activity with the international students. Of course, we promote field trips, city tours, and campus tour. But Brother Carioca introduced the international students the Carioca way of life according to their point of view. Yes, because they are young from young. Yes, they are in the same boat and the same with the same perspective about how to be young here and what the Carioca do during the weekend, like barbecues, go to party, bars, and picnics and hikes that our international office do not provide. All the logistics is set up from here, but they help us too much.
Okay.
Okay, Julia, so you can ask.
Okay. My question is, how easy it is to get a part-time job to and to balance that with student life? Like you said, that the way it's taught in KTH is a little bit different from here. And as far as Pedro told me, it is really, it's similar in some kind of ways, but you have more extra times dedicated to classes, outside class hours. So how difficult is to balance a part-time job and to get a part-time job in Sweden?
Yeah, that's a good question, and it's a very common question as well. First of all, when you have a student visa studying in Sweden, you're allowed to work. So that's that's a positive thing. There are no restrictions in hours, etc. So you have all the legal requirements in place to look for jobs. So that's that. When it comes to working load, we usually recommend students that they shouldn't work that many hours extra, because it requires quite a lot of work to study. On the other hand, since you have a lot of, I mean, because of the educational structure, it can make it easier for you to work, in the sense that you're more flexible with your hours. And we don't have night classes, for instance. So most students, if you're an organized student, you would study during the days. You have classes, and you go and you do your like home assignment, so to speak, during the days. So then you know that you would have nights and weekends to work. So the third thing then, how easy is it to get a job? I mean, that's a bit of a tricky question. First of all, Sweden, a lot of people speak English in Sweden and in Stockholm. So you can find jobs not speaking Swedish. There are various examples of jobs you could find in a bar or cafe or in a warehouse speaking English. On the other hand, I mean, it is a bit tricky to find a job. It's not impossible, but usually, sometimes students ask this question because they are planning to build their whole budget based on taking into account that they will work. I would say that's a rather risky project, because you might not find a job, etc. But if you're looking for a job and if you find one, that's good. And if not, you will still survive. Then, yeah, a bit of a long answer to your question, but it's not too easy to answer.
It's okay. Thank you. I don't think I have any more questions.
So thank you, Hans, for all your time, all your answers. It's really helped us to promote more your university. And we are now under another round to select the students. So it's really very helpful. So thank you very much. I hope you come to our campus and visit us once more. And thank you for all your help and support to our students.
Yeah, and thank you. Thank you for everything. And yeah, I'm looking forward to send our first student now. And I'm very glad that Pedro could join us for this session, and also learning that they have been in contact with each other.
Yes.
That's perfect.
Thank you, Hans. Thank you so much. I do not worry about David here, because we are take care about him and do our best to introduce himself to our culture and to our campus life and everything. So I think he will enjoy. Pedro, you help too much to give tips and advices about PUC. Yes, Pedro, I hope you can help me in this. And you are doing that. You are a great ambassador about PUC here now. Yes, thank you so much, Hans, for your time. And it's such a pleasure to see you again. Yes, so it's very nice. Thank you for your time and for presentation.
Thank you, and welcome, Julia. I suppose you are doing your application now, and
yes,
that
Yeah, yeah.
everything, yeah, and that
Yeah.
everything goes smooth. So,
Yeah.
and I hope to see you in August or September.
Yeah, I hope to see you too. Thank you.
Yeah.
Obrigada, Pedro. Obrigada, Júlia. Um bom dia para vocês.